Tutorial time! Today we're going to be spinning a Scrappy yarn batt that I've added cotton scraps to the wool while I was carding it. I'm just getting my leader yarn through all of the rings, and then I actually attach a cotton yarn as my core because I will be core spinning this first. I have tried mohair as well. It just didn't work for me. It was way too slippery, so I just use cotton. Grab it at my local craft store when it's on sale so I can have it in lots of different colors. I try to match it a bit to my yarn so then if it ever peeks through, it's matching. Now I take the batt that I've already made, I fold it over and I pull it apart so it's in half. And then what I do is I take it into little strips so it's much easier to work with when I'm spinning it. I know some people that spin from a batt, but I am just not one of those people. I like to have small chunks so that I can see what I'm putting onto the core yarn. And then I will be setting up my auto wrap. Now this little contraption I have on the floor here I had my husband make because my threads kept falling over and it was just, I couldn't get over it. So luckily I have a crafty husband and he made me this that I can put a couple threads on. I hold my core with my left hand, I wrap it so that it's kind of around the fourth finger, makes it so it doesn't pull out so easy. You start spinning so you get a twist in your core yarn, and then stop once some of the wool is on the core, and then I kind of tuck the ends of that auto wrap in. Now it can't fall out. And then it just goes up by the orifice and kind of slowly just wraps around the core as I spin here. Now I hold on to my little piece of batt with my left hand and thin it out and draft it with my right hand a little bit here. I make very chunky yarn and none of it's really ever even, so this is how I spin. Definitely not something everyone has to do. This is just the way I do it. I was not taught by anyone. I learned based pretty much solely off YouTube videos, so I may not be doing anything correct, but works for me. It's how I've done it for over a year, so just don't mess with something if it's not broken. Now, because the strips that I use to put the wool onto the core are still fairly thick, a lot of that wool will get hidden kind of under some of the other wool. Now I will twist that little bit that I have in my hand so that whatever's on the outside away from the core yarn is what will be seen. So I will just twist it and turn that wool that I'm using around so that I can get the pieces I want seen on the outside. Remember to keep moving your rings so that your yarn is going onto your bobbin kind of evenly. Makes it easier when you go to coil this later. Now, because I have made my batt into two pieces, I will spin two different yarns from this. Once I get done with the first half, I leave a bit of space on that core. It makes it easier when you go to coil it later and then separate it once you've steamed it all. So you leave some space, and then I just start adding on the second half of the batt, which will make the second yarn. I do everything the same here, making sure that what I want to see on the outside is what's kind of away from the inner core string, and just keep spinning. Nice and meditative, or I like to rock out with some music sometimes too. To add on your next strip, you just keep spinning, and I kind of just slowly let the end catch on that core string. And then you just keep letting it wrap around and around. Do quite a slow spin when I do these. Might look like I'm pedaling kind of fast here, but it's really not compared to when I coil it or when you do a thinner yarn. Much faster spinning then. If you treadle too fast, then the yarn will be overspun and it'll be too curly. Once you go to coil it, even after you steam it, it still wants to curl up on itself. It takes a lot of practice to kind of get the right balance there. So we're at the end of this second yarn. I'll just kind of let it keep going through the orifice so that that auto wrap will keep coiling around the rest of the yarn. Then I let it keep going for a little bit. This is what I'm going to make my knot with. I twist it up, knot the end, and then just spin this onto the bobbin. Now we're going to start coiling that core spun yarn back onto another core. This is what's going to make those bobbles. Now I will take my core yarn and I put it through my leader, and then there's just tie a little knot, so it's kind of got its own little loop. And this is what I will put the end of the core spun yarn through. Take your bobbin, put it on. I put this on a table to my left because I like to lead it on with my left hand. But I've always done it. If I ever do it the wrong way accidentally, it feels really weird. Put the end of your core spun yarn through the little loop and it will catch then onto the leader. Now I tighten up the tension a lot here because most of the time this yarn doesn't even want to go through the orifice, but we'll take what we can get so I don't have to stop and coil it on myself all the time. I do a few coils around and then I slightly push it up a little bit. This is just to keep those bobbles kind of close to each other so that when you're done you don't have all this core showing. I just keep wrapping it around. This is when the yarn doesn't want to go through. You have to just kind of put it on yourself onto the bobbin. I'm really trying to get it to go on by itself, but it really doesn't want to. So then I'll usually coil on quite a bit, stop, and then pull it up. Make sure you're moving those rings so that it goes evenly on the bobbin, same as when you core spun. Now you're going to come to that section where you separated the two yarns on the core, and I just coil them together, ply them together, let that go on the bobbin, and then kind of start again. So you're just going to start coiling it around that core yarn again. Same thing, pushing it up every so often. That's how I kind of keep them a little bit close without mashing them up too much. I like to still see those bobbles. If you push too hard, they're just going to mash together. You can see here how the scrap starts showing. Gives it such a great texture. That's why everyone, I think, loves using scrap so much. Plus, it's great for recycling. You're using up bits that people have used. A lot of these are just parts of scraps that I've used when I used to make more weaves, or I've actually gotten some weavers to ship me their scraps, and it's just a really nice way for them to recycle and not have to throw it away, and then it gets turned into something new. Now we're to the end of the other yarn. Same thing, just ply the ends together a little bit, then I cut it off, and then same thing as before, I will make a knot at the end of this bit and then get it back onto the bobbin and tuck that end in between all the rest of the yarn so it doesn't get lost. Sometimes it takes me a while to remember where I've put the end, but eventually we find it. Thanks for watching, and let me know if you have any questions.